In this video, we're going to be talking about weight fluctuations. You know, when you step on the scale and the weight's up or the weight's down, most of the time you don't even have to look at the scale. You can look at yourself and tell. Some of you have probably looked at my videos and said, wait, she looks leaner in that video, she looks fatter in that one. Well, yeah. Hi, my name is Sheila. Welcome to the video. Yes. I experience weight fluctuations just like you do. Mine goes up and down. But I want to talk about why mine changes, what I'm trying to do about it, how I can stay consistent. I don't know. Let's have a conversation about it. Let me first start to talk about why my weight fluctuates sometimes and when that happens. One of the first primary reasons, the main one, the one that I know takes place all the time, is when there's a season change. I tend to weigh less in the summer and more in the winter. I am that person, you guys, who does not run outside. Like when the temperature starts to drop, I start to drop too in terms of how often you're going to see me outside. If it's 20 degrees, you guys, I'm just letting you know I'm not going to be out there. I'm going to be inside on a machine doing something else. It's hard for me to run with a whole bunch of stuff on. So during the winter, my workouts, my training, all of it tends to lessen in terms of intensity and I'm going to say quality, not necessarily quantity, but the quality of the workout. It's cold. I'm just not as into it. It's easier to be into it when you're out and it's summertime and the sun is shining and you're feeling really good. You're getting, that endorphin rush. But during the winter time, when it's kind of blah looking outside, it's overcast, it's cloudy, it's cold, it's icky, the weather might be bad. It's hard to have that same sort of feeling. So I tend to, as a result, not to have a workout that is as intense and has more cardio, more just a whole level of quality to it that I just don't see during the summertime. So I'm just telling you, I slack off in the winter. I just do. The other thing about winter is that there's the whole winter blahs thing. I mean, you tend to want heavier, more comforting like foods. You go for cream-based soups over broth-based soups over salad, which is what you might have during the summertime when it's hot outside and you want something fresh and crunchy and crispy and light. In the winter, we tend to go for heavier foods that feel more rich and filling. At least I do. So we're usually talking about foods that are higher in calories, higher in fat, higher in probably just stuff I don't need, right? Then in the winter, I'm also just inside the house more. I'm less likely to want to bundle up and go somewhere and maybe just, do some shopping and walking around. I'm not going to really be at one of those outdoor shopping centers where, it's like an outlet and you walk from store to store, because I'm going to be bundled up and I'm going to be cold. So not that I do that all the time, but what I'm saying is there's going to be less of that. I'm going to be in the house. I'm going to be in the house thinking about Oreos and macaroni and cheese, as opposed to outside maybe grilling and having something with a salad. It's just a whole different thing in terms of what I'm eating and just feeling very blah because it's always so overcast and it just totally does something different to my headspace. You guys, if you're feeling this, you understand what I'm talking about, let me know in the comments. Do you feel those winter blahs? Does it then show up in, how you eat and how you work out? Does it impact you like it impacts me? The other thing about being in the house is I tend to snack more. I'm just like, okay, what can I have now? Do we have any chips? Granted, I do try to make healthier choices with my snacks, but still, you're snacking more. There are more calories there. Usually with a higher fat intake than what you might have if you, number one, were snacking on healthier foods, and number two, you weren't snacking at all. And then that last one, that major reason why you sort of see this shift between what I'm, looking like and what I'm able to do in the winter versus what I'm able to do now, is that there are just more times to eat then at parties and gatherings and holiday events. You have Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, and then we bump on right on into Valentine's. So we actually start out in the fall with October, where all three of us have birthdays. So I'm passing on the cake. I do not have a cake for my birthday anymore now. My daughter wants a cake, my husband wants a cake, that's fine. I'm not doing a cake. I'm not doing 3 cakes in 1 month. So for us, we're starting to celebrate in October 3 times, and then it's November for Thanksgiving, and then it's December for Christmas, and then by February you're like, oh crap, this is starting to show up in terms of how I feel about myself. And then you start to look at, wait, there's this summer body coming. I'm gonna be wearing these shirts with my arms out. I want my arms to look like that. I want my back to look good. Then we start to think about that summer body and getting back on track. So it's this sort of yo-yo process every single year. For me, it always happens. I always weigh more in the winter than I do in the summer. I feel like I'm on this never-ending battle to get rid of winter weight every summer. And it's not that much, you guys. There's usually like a 5 or 6 pound difference, as long as it only stays there. Now, if it were a situation where it was like, hey, I gained 15 pounds over one winter, that would be an issue, because that would signal to me that I'm outside of what my norm is for me. Individually, we have to figure out what our norm is. If we are, in this space where we're sort of yo-yoing, if over time the yo-yoing stays the same, it's just pretty consistent, then that's just the biological cycle of your body, okay? But if it starts to do this thing where, it's yo-yoing, but the yo-yoing is, starting to go up higher and higher, so that each time you're gaining more weight, you weigh more, and you're not coming back down to where you used to come back down to, then that should indicate to us that we need to make some sort of change with what we're doing, because obviously we've sort of gotten things out of whack just a little bit, especially if for a long time this is where we've been. We've just sort of yo-yoed here. We know that we're going to have peaks and valleys. Our weight does not stay the same. It fluctuates. Even over time, there is going to be this gradual sort of change, because we get older, our metabolism slows down. The amount of muscle that we have, especially in women, it starts to decrease way earlier than men. So we have to work really hard to maintain that muscle and strength, especially when it comes to taking care of our bones and our bone structure. So that if we start to fall, we trip, we hit something, it's easier to come back from that. All of that being said, how do we make sure that, like I said, we aren't getting, out of control here in terms of saying, wait, my up and downs are now starting to look like something I've never seen before? Part of it has to do with just sitting back and assessing what is going on. Has there been some major change in my life that has now resulted in me maybe snacking more, me not exercising or taking care of myself more? And here's a biggie. Are we going to the doctor, having that physical, to make sure that there's not some underlying medical condition, something that's going on that we don't even know about? A lot of times that's the thing we sort of skip until things get really bad. You go, wait a second, there is something really truly wrong with me. I've lost 40 pounds in a month. That sort of trigger. But if you thought back, you realize, well, wait, I actually was on the decline for months before I really hit this really low in terms of my weight. Now I better run into the doctor. So that's a really big one too. So start to assess what is going on, number one. And then number two, start to figure out what kind of action you're going to take. So for instance, I just talked about, thinking about whether or not there's some sort of underlying medical condition going on, well, then your action is, maybe I need to make a doctor's appointment and sit down, have them run some tests, have them ask me some questions, have them listen to my answers and determine whether or not, they need to be taking a harder look at something, looking at my family history. Is there a history of something that, hey, I was already on track to possibly have this disease or have this condition? Let's take a look at it, see what's going on. For some of the other things, for instance, the stress that's going on, let's start to have a conversation about how we manage that. What kinds of actions, what kind of plans can we put in place to manage that? What is our coping strategy? Too many times for me, like I just said, my coping strategy, when I'm stressed out, when I'm just emotionally tired, I start having less discipline when it comes to making good food choices. The discipline, I say less discipline, the discipline almost goes out the window, because then I'm like, oh, let's have some cookies. Oh, let's have some chips. It's okay to have cookies and chips once in a while, There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You should not feel like you have to deprive yourself in order to be healthy and fit. The thing to start to be concerned about is if you're constantly, number one, running to that as your go-to coping mechanism, that's a concern. And number two, if as a result you aren't really looking at the issues that are bothering you and that are causing you to run to the cookies and the chips. Y'all, the cookies and the chips. I love cookies and chips. That should be like a whole flavor of ice cream that I would never eat. So that's it. Those are, I guess, the things to sort of think about when we're looking at sort of yo-yoing in terms of our weight. Like I said, for me, it tends to be this sort of winter-summer thing. Winter-summer every single year. I mean, I'd like to just say, like summer, but it's entirely different. Yeah, I'm not outside as much. There is this whole winter blahs thing. I am in the house. I'm not being as productive with my workout, and I do tend to snack more. So it changes a little bit. But right now, I guess we're in the middle of summer, so I'm okay. I'm good. I'm probably still not eating the best that I could. The workouts are okay. I have my Arena platform. I'm doing more with this website with my channel in terms of sharing content, especially exercise. We shall see how it goes. Let me know in the comments, are you feeling like you're having some concerns about your weight yo-yoing, your health yo-yoing, how you feel yo-yoing? Because you only have one body, so it's not like the physical part is somehow separate from the mental part. It's not. It's just one body. It's all one person, and it's all you. Let me know in the comments, what you're doing, what you're thinking, what kind of coping mechanisms you have. And like I said, are you identifying and then responding? What's your plan? Go ahead and give the video a like, because YouTube, Google, they love to be able to see that engagement. Don't forget to put your comments in below, and don't forget to subscribe. Peace.